Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk about trapped energy, energy blocks, and inner child healing. When people hear inner child healing, they often think it's about remembering childhood memories or forgiving their parents. But that's not it. The real work happens in the body, in the energy field. An energy block isn't just emotional baggage. It's a frozen pocket of a life force. The moment something became too painful to feel, and your system said, I can't handle this right now. The body protected you by freezing that energy. And that's what we feel decades later as tension, numbness, anxiety, disease, or silence. And the block isn't the enemy. It's the part of you that held on so you could survive. And when I say meeting the wound, I mean you're finally encountering that frozen pocket again, not with your mind, but through your body. For me, I've personally released 5 energy blocks these past few years, 4 of which were connected to my inner child. And each one surfaced through a trigger, something that activated a memory that my body was ready to release. My first wound appeared around my 14-year-old self, the year my parents divorced. I grew up with an alcoholic mother and a father who, loving in his way, was emotionally unavailable. And when my father lost the custody case I prayed would rescue me from the chaos, I turned my anger inward. In a home where silence was law, I learned not to speak my truth. I learned to disappear. And years later, when I began setting boundaries and stopped seeking external approval, old friendships started falling away. And when I confronted a close friend about his emotionally unavailability, I was thrown right back into that 14-year-old wound. The ache of wanting to be seen and held by my father. And that session became hours of sobbing, shaking, and release. And I thought I would sleep soundly afterward, but I didn't. Instead, my third eye chakra opened, and I could suddenly see the illusion I'd lived under, that my entire adult life had been a reflection of that early pain. Because our nervous system doesn't seek what's fulfilling, it seeks what's familiar. And trauma isn't what happened to you, it's what happened inside you when your system became overwhelmed. It's the body saying too much, too fast, too soon. And when that happens, the nervous system compartmentalizes, freezing sensations, emotions, and memories to keep you safe. And from an energetic perspective, trauma is a misalignment between the physical body and the energy field. And healing is the realignment, bringing those frozen parts back into harmony through safety, presence, and breath. And we don't do it all at once. Healing happens through titration, gently touching the pain and then returning to resource, back and forth until the body learns that it can stay. That's how we expand capacity, not by force, but through safety. I came to energy healing at my lowest point after leaving a 33-year career where I faced discrimination and retaliation. And that experience shattered me, but it also cracked me open. I had spent decades in therapy, group therapy, Al-Anon, and spirituality, believing I was healing, when in truth I was spiritually bypassing. I could talk about pain, I could teach about pain, but I couldn't feel it. And energy work changed that. It showed me that healing isn't about ascension, it's about descent. It's the body remembering safety after years of bracing for impact. and it's the soul returning to the present moment. And every wound I've met began with a trigger. Someone said something, did something, or didn't, and suddenly I was back inside the freeze. And most of us run from triggers. We numb, we rationalize, we dissociate, we spiritualize. But a trigger isn't punishment, it's an invitation. It's the body's way of saying the past is ready to leave now. And when we meet that moment consciously, not by analyzing, but by feeling, the trapped energy begins to move. That's what energy healing makes possible. It creates space for what's been buried to finally rise. Healing doesn't happen just because we cry or release energy. Healing happens when we stay. When we stay with the part of ourselves that's hurting, the scared child, the frozen body, instead of leaving again. And that's the turning point. Every time we stay, we send a new signal to the nervous system. I'm not abandoning you anymore. Dissociation is self-abandonment, the number one block of the heart chakra. As children, we learn to disconnect from the body to survive what felt unbearable. Our systems decided it's safer to leave myself than to feel this. But that same strategy follows us into adulthood. We dissociate whenever we're triggered by conflict, rejection, silence, intimacy, and our body reenacts the old separation. And healing begins when we notice that impulse to flee and instead choose to stay, to breathe, to feel, and to be with what once felt impossible. And triggers stop being something to fear and become something to follow. Sacred invitations to return to the body, to the heart, and to the present. Because healing isn't about avoiding what hurts, it's about bringing love there. And when an energy block releases, it's not just an emotional shift, it's biological and energetic regeneration. Those trapped energies are the root of many of our self-defeating patterns and limiting beliefs. They distort perception, keeping us stuck in loops of fear and scarcity or victimhood. After I released that 14-year-old's anger, something extraordinary happened. Within days, behaviors I'd carried my entire life began to dissolve, especially the victimhood I once lived inside of. Because here's the truth. When energy moves, the body remembers how to heal. Every one of us carries a self-organizing intelligence, a regenerative capacity that knows how to return to balance once obstruction is gone. That's the miracle of energy work. You don't have to fix yourself. You just have to free the energy, and the system knows what to do. And before we can meet the wound, we must understand how we avoid it. Dissociation wears many masks: overthinking, caretaking, perfectionism, overworking, numbing, spiritual bypassing. And these are not failures. They're brilliant survival strategies that once kept us alive. We honor them and then we outgrow them. And healing doesn't require abandoning our defenses. It asks us to outlove them. And underneath every wound I've ever met is grief, unattended grief. The grief of what we didn't get, what we didn't feel safe enough to need. Because children don't say, I'm grieving. They act it out through withdrawal, perfectionism, caretaking, rage, or silence. It's grief without a grave. And when that grief finally finds a voice, when the sobs come, that's not regression. That's the system remembering it can feel again. So if you're meeting your own wound right now, remember, the goal isn't to be healed, it's to be here. And each time you meet that part of you, you reclaim energy that had been frozen in time. You strengthen your field, your nervous system, and your sense of self. This is energy work. It's not about escape, it's about embodiment. And that's where freedom begins.